And yes, good morning to you, Frederick Abuja Territory. Good morning, everyone listening right about now. This is a Friday morning, and right here on Citizen 93.7, we bring you the newspaper review for today. My name is Sharon Smith, and I'd like to say Happy New Month to our super citizen listeners. May the new month come with joy and ease of everything happening within the country right now. And this morning, as per usual, I'm joined by our in-house analyst, Mr. Salman Salami, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Citizen 93.7 FM and also a seasoned journalist. Good morning, sir.
Very good morning to you, Shio, and our super citizen listeners. Happy New Month.
All right, thank you very much. So now, as usual, we'll take a look at certain newspapers across the national dailies. We'll take a look at Punch newspaper. We'll also look at This Day, Nigerian Tribune, The Guardian, Leadership newspaper, Daily Trust newspaper, Vanguard, and The Nation newspaper today. And taking a look at the Punch newspaper right about this morning, on the cover page you'd see that Punch at 50 past confirms deceitful Nigeria must decentralize, says Soyinka. Punch at 50 past confirms deceitful Nigeria must decentralize, says Soyinka. And next story says that oil marketer arraigned for allegedly defrauding customers of 100 million naira. Oil marketer arraigned for allegedly defrauding customers of 100 million naira. Next says crude theft. Maritime crimes have reduced in Niger Delta, says the Navy. Crude theft, maritime crimes have reduced in Niger Delta, says the Navy. And also NDIC refunds depositors of 179 liquidated banks. NDIC refunds depositors of 179 liquidated banks. Next story here says that federal government 10-man panel to probe foreign airlines over high fares. Federal government's 10-man panel to probe foreign airlines over high fares, and that you'd find on the Punch newspaper. And also it says here that protest in Edo, a stray bullet kills man. Protest in Edo, a stray bullet kills man. Now the FRSC warns against speeding as 5 die in Ogun auto crash. FRSC warns against speeding as 5 die in Ogun auto crash. Now, this stories you'd find on the Punch newspaper for today. And also, in regards to the Edo poll, courts to determine PDP's candidate, says Shaibu. In regards to Edo poll, courts to determine PDP's candidate, says Shaibu. And also, Edo APC youth leader makes a U-turn, backs governorship candidate. Edo APC youth leader makes a U-turn, backs governorship candidates. The story you find on Punch newspaper for today, the 1st of March 2024. And now let's move on to This Day newspaper and see what's happening on the latest headlines. It says here that Tinubu labors 4 strikes in 9 months of my government unacceptable. Tinubu says labors 4 strikes in 9 months of my government unacceptable. And next story says, in place of restructuring, Soyinka seeks Nigeria's reconfiguration and decentralization. In place of restructuring, Soyinka seeks Nigeria's reconfiguration and decentralization. And next says, NUPRC releases regulatory divestment framework for exiting international oil companies. NUPRC releases regulatory divestment framework for exiting international oil companies. And next, also it says here that Oronshari report has become obsolete, requires review. House Sani advised Tinubu. Oronshai report has become obsolete, requires review. And another story says that LCCI tasked federal government on clear action plan for implementation. LCCI, that is Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, has tasked the federal government on clear action plan for implementation. Next, still looking at the This Day newspaper, we can see here as well that food security, 25,000 tons of wheat for northeast arrive from war-ravaged Ukraine. Food security, 25,000 tons of wheat for northeast arrives from war-ravaged Ukraine. And lastly, it says that Yoruba Mall return to pristine tradition. Yoruba Malls return to pristine tradition, cultural values to tackle insecurity. You'd find the story on This Day newspaper for today. And next here on the Nigerian Tribune, the top story says strengthening Amotekun top agenda at Yoruba Security Summit. Strengthening Amotekun top agenda at Yoruba Security Summit. And looking at the latest update, it says that reps to probe CBN discourse over national mass metering program. Reps to probe CBN discourse over national mass metering program. And our next story on the latest headline says that Shatima orders for Unilag Muslim alumni's pre-Ramadan lecture. Shatima orders for Unilag Muslim alumni's pre-Ramadan lecture. And members of new NACON board assume duty. Members of new NACON board assume duty. And next story says Oloyede cautions Islamic clerics seeks harsh punishment for social media abusers. Oloyede cautions Islamic clerics seeks harsh punishment for social media abusers. And next here says that federal government's cash transfer afterthought. Federal government's cash transfer afterthought. Looking at another story here that says that military and challenge of safeguarding democracy. Military and challenge of safeguarding democracy. And lastly, we can see here that Nigeria paying for years of agricultural neglect. Nigeria paying for years of agricultural neglect. And that's you'd find on the Nigerian Tribune for the latest updates for this morning. And also taking it further, we're taking a look at still taking a look at the Nigerian Tribune. We can also see here that job creation, Nigeria eyes $350 billion global outsourcing market. Job creation, Nigeria eyes $350 billion global outsourcing market. And here as well, we see that UN report reps ask federal government to act on 2024 terrorist cells in Katsina. Federal government reps ask federal government to act on 2024 terrorist cells in Katsina. And that's on Thursday, urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to act on the recent United Nations special report on the ongoing security challenges in certain areas of Katsina State, which indicated the existence of 24 terrorist cells spanning approximately 30 forests in the northwest region of Nigeria. The resolution was passed as sequel to the adoption of a motion sponsored by Honorable Aliyu Abubakar. Now, next story on The Guardian says that inflation, citizens turn to condemned expired food in search of cheaper options. In regards to inflation, citizens turn to condemned expired foods in search of cheaper options. Nigerians live in desperate times, and like William Shakespeare once wrote, desperate times breed desperate measures, and that is aptly true of the mood in which many Nigerian families are now forced to make certain decisions. Now, next story says that banks crowded as customers struggle to link NIN with BVN. Banks crowded as customers struggle to link NIN with BVN. Next says Soyinka fault coup in Africa, calls for decentralization in Nigeria. Soyinka fault coup in Africa, calls for decentralization in Nigeria. And in the news, it says that disconnection imminent as subscribers flood NIMC and telco outlets. Disconnection imminent as subscribers flood NIMC and telco outlets. Next here says the BDC operators defy FCT authorities despite office demolition. BDC operators defy FCT authorities despite office demolition. And here as well, it says that Senate summons Wike CP over insecurity in the Federal Capital Territory. And here as well, we see that Zulum begs Tinubu to reconsider merging NAUB with NDA. Zulum begs Tinubu to reconsider merging NAUB, that is the Nigerian Army University Bill, with the Nigerian Defense Academy as a faculty. That story you'd find on the Guardian newspaper today. And also, the next story says that police arrest 2 suspects linked to ritual killing of hookup ladies in Ogun State. Next year, you'd also see a story that says that military welcomes Igboho's pledge to fish out bandits in bushes. Military welcomes Igboho's pledge to fish out bandits in bushes. And lastly, federal government recovers 20,000 weapons, 60,000 ammunitions from illicit handlers. The federal government recovers 20,000 weapons, 60,000 ammunitions from illicit handlers. And that story you'd find on the Guardian newspaper. But before I move on to the next, let's go on a very short break. And when we're back, we'll continue with the rest of the newspapers across the national dailies this morning. Do stay tuned. And many thanks for staying tuned. Welcome back to Citizen 93.7 FM. This is also the point where I have to implore our listeners this morning to please endeavor to call in at the half-hour mark. That is 30 minutes after 7 a.m. Pardon me. Endeavor to call in at the half-hour mark. You can call in on 0903 2229797 0903 2229797 or 0818 2222205 0818-2222-205. Our super citizen listeners, I'm very sure you can hear me this morning, so please make sure to call in to contribute and also air your own opinion in regards to the topic that we are seeing across the national dailies today. Next next paper we're looking at is the Leadership newspaper, and on the cover page it says that new constitution will be ready in 2025, says reps. New constitution will be ready in 2025, says reps. And right on the latest headlines on the Leadership newspaper, it says that United Nations volunteers seek succor for distressed Nigerians. United Nations volunteers seek succor for distressed Nigerians. Next, and Senate extends clerks tenure, 200 staff retirement years. Senate extends clerks tenure, 200 staff retirement years. And also another story here says CDS asks youth to take ownership of fight against insecurity. CDS asks you to take ownership of fight against insecurity. And there's more right here on the leadership newspaper, and it says that 5 Abia female science students for mentoring program. 5 Abia female science students for mentoring program. And lastly, Fubara urged to convoke economic summit. Fubara urged to convoke economic summit. And quickly, let's take a look at the Daily Trust newspaper and get up to speed with stories across the paper. This morning, on the cover page of the Daily Trust, reps to Tinubu, they say, review Oronshai report before implementation. Reps to Tinubu, review Oronshai report before implementation. And the next story says that how social media propelled my business, says Nana. How social media propelled my business, says Nana. And now next says in regards to job creation, Nigeria to tap into $350 billion global outsource market. Nigeria to tap into $350 billion global outsource market. This you'd find on Daily Trust newspaper for this morning. And next says that group raises 8.5 billion naira for school. Group raises 8.5 billion naira for school. To expand education opportunities, the Muslim Ladies Circle MLC has concluded plans to raise 8.5 billion naira for the construction of a new boarding school in Ajiran, Lekki, Lagos State. Looking at the next story here on the Daily Trust newspaper, we can see as well that Bauchi pays WAEC NECO fees for 14,170 students. Bauchi pays WAEC NECO fees for 14,170 students. And here it says U.S. to Israel allow Muslims to worship at Al-Aqsa during Ramadan. Allow Muslims to worship at Al-Aqsa during Ramadan. The story you'd find on the Daily Trust newspaper. And here you can see that Tinubu says, or Tinubu dares NLC and says, you cannot fight me. You can't fight me, Tinubu dares NLC. And lastly, Tinubu inaugurates a 37-kilometer red line rail project in Lagos. Tinubu inaugurates a 37-kilometer red line rail project in Lagos. That you'll find on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And now taking a look at the Vanguard, it says here on the cover story that confusion over NIN BVN link to bank account. Confusion over NIN BVN link to bank accounts. And next on the Vanguard newspaper says, Tinubu to NLC, it is unacceptable to judge me in 9 months. It is unacceptable to judge me in 9 months. Tinubu to NLC. And the next story says that AAUA Don raises alarm over effect of deforestation. AAUA Don raises alarm over effect of deforestation. A university done, Alabak Badamosi, has cried out that the earth has been brought to the brink of unmitigated disaster as a result of deforestation. Badamosi, who is a professor of silviculture and plant biotechnology, said the destruction of the earth's natural habitat through unchecked human activities will continue to destroy the global ecosystem. That story you'd find on the Vanguard newspaper for this morning. And next year it says, State Police traditional means way out of insecurity in Southwest Yoruba monarchs. State Police traditional means way out of insecurity in Southwest. And now also it says that Tinubu committed to improving gas sector investment. Tinubu committed to improving gas sector investments, says presidency. In regards to hardship, government should stop taking us for a ride, and that was said by Shoyinka. Government should stop taking us for a ride, says Shoyinka. And the next story here also reads that Southeast Group urges Indigo to support Tinubu's government. Southeast urges Indigo to support Tinubu's government. And you'd find the stories on the Vanguard newspaper. And lastly, it says that Buhari destroyed Nigeria's economy. He is responsible for current hardship. Buhari destroyed Nigeria's economy. He is responsible for current hardship, says Shehu Sani. Shehu Sani, a former lawmaker representing Kaduna Central in the Senate, has claimed that former President Muhammadu Buhari destroyed Nigeria's economy, saying the former president is responsible for the current economic hardship in the country. And lastly, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper for today, 1st March 2023. On the cover page, you see that Tinubu Labour's constant strike calls unacceptable. Apparently, this is a recurring story from across all the national dailies that we've touched this morning. It says Labour's constant strike unacceptable. And then next year, it says that Ayedatiwa Akinteriwa clash over thuggery. Next story says Clark hails Gowon for speaking out on ECOWAS sanction. Clark hails Gowon for speaking out on ECOWAS sanction. And also we find on the Nation newspaper that BUA committed to price reduction, says director. BUA committed to price reduction, says the director. And also, still taking a look at the Nation newspaper, we can see that Wike Oke's promotion of 8,785 FCTA workers. Wike Oke's promotion of 8,785 FCTA workers. Lastly, Senate urges PSC to recruit 10 candidates each from 774 councils. Senate urges PSC to recruit 10 candidates each from 774 councils. And these are the stories that appear on the national dailies, across national dailies this morning, 1st March 2023. And to get up to speed with most of the rest of the stories and more stories, so to say, would implore that you get your hands on a copy of this newspapers for today. But in the meantime, it's also important that you call us right here on Citizen 93.7 FM to join the conversation and contribute to the review for this morning and also air your own opinion. The number to call is 0903 22 29797, 0903 22 29797, or 0818 22 22205. And very quickly, we would go on a very short break. And when we're back, I'll kickstart the analysis with our in-house analyst, Mr. Salman Salami. Do stay tuned, our Super Citizen listeners. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the newspaper review right here on Citizen 93.7 FM. Right about now would be, I'll have to bring in our in-house analyst so that we can review most of the headlines that we've run through this morning. Good morning, Mr. Salami. Thank you very much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Sheung. Our own Sheung, not Sheung Okibaloi, our own Sheung Smith, who is very, very versatile. And very good morning to you, our super citizen listeners.
All right, thank you very much. And to our supported citizen listeners, we say that I'm sure you're listening to us this morning, so would implore once again that you call in, at least air your opinion, talk about where it hurts, and also contribute to the topic of discussion and the review at large. Now, let's even kickstart with the headline that says Tinubu labors 4 strikes in 9 months of my government unacceptable. Labor's 4 strikes in 9 months of my government unacceptable. Our president, PBAT, as Mr. Salami calls him, says yesterday took a swipe at organized labor for the series of strike actions they had embarked upon since he assumed office on May 29th, 2023, saying that such development is unacceptable to his administration. Now, Mr. Salami, what do you say about this?
Well, once again, very good morning to you, our super citizen listeners. We really appreciate your love and concern for Citizen FM. We appreciate you, and we will not disappoint you. Straight away to the issue of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who my presenter said that I call PBAT. So you see, in journalism at times we have this acronym for these people. You remember PMB, President Muhammadu Buhari, OBJ.
Sure.
We have some of these things. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu told the organized labor yesterday. In fact, he wrapped them and said 4 strikes in 9 months. This is unacceptable. He went further to say that if the NLC has become a political party, they should meet on the field in 2027. But we know that the NLC is not a political party. It is a pressure group. And we know that pressure groups are out to do what? To push and ensure that they protect the interest of the members of the group. In this instance, the workers, the Nigerian workers. Nigerian Labour Congress is essentially interested in the welfare and well-being of the Nigerian workers. They are not a political party. NLC is not a political party. At least we know it is not a political party. But then, we know that all human beings are political animals. No two ways about that, and there is no need denying that. We will not live in denial. For President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to say that I've spent just 9 months and you have gone on strike on 4 occasions, this to me is unacceptable, calls for concern. It is on this note that I will implore the NLC to please be circumspect. Circumspection is the word. I will leave it at that.
All right, thank you very much, sir. As you've said, circumspection is the word, and also, apparently the next story here says that Punch at 50, that means Punch newspaper is celebrating its 50th today, and also in the same vein, Wale Soyinka, did say that past confirms deceitful Nigeria must decentralize. Past confirms deceitful Nigeria must decentralize. He did say this at the Punch at 50 celebration, where he addressed the challenges facing Nigeria, where deceitful was saying the exercises were merely held to pacify aggrieved Nigerians. And like I said earlier, he stated this while delivering a public lecture in celebration of the 50th anniversary of Punch Nigeria Limited. So, Mrs. Salami, to you, what exactly do you make of this, of his statement that previous national conferences organized to address the challenges facing Nigeria were deceitful, and that the exercises were merely held to pacify aggrieved Nigerians?
Well, let us start from Punch. Punch at 50. Well, we thank God for for the Punch newspapers. The Punch newspapers is not only a legacy, it is a national asset. And if you describe the Punch as the conscience of the nation, you won't be too far from the truth. Punch, by all standard, has pioneered robust journalism and promoted scholarly discourse or intellectual rejuvenation. Punch has done very well in 50 years. It remains a national asset and a legacy. Now to the lecture delivered by Kongi himself, the indomitable laureate and the only laureate from this part of the world, Professor Wole Soyinka. By all standard, Professor Wole Soyinka is a respected and respectable voice globally. Professor Wole Soyinka, during the lecture, the anniversary lecture, said that Nigeria should decentralize or reconfigure and not restructure. According to the playwright, he said that he's more comfortable with such words like decentralize, which in itself and by itself is self-explanatory. It is not too difficult to understand the meaning of decentralization. It is not opaque. It is not nebulous. It is plain, and it is clear and visible to the blind. If possible, audible to the deaf, and of course tangible to the paralytic as well. These are simple words. Decentralize. Shed weight. Let power, let it go to the base, the states and local governments, which are closer to the people than administering the whole of Nigeria from Abuja. That is the point that the man is making, and this is not new. It is speaking truth to power. State police, or whatever name we call it, is part of decentralization exercise. It is geared towards making people feel the impact of government, because it is the government at the grassroots level. There is no point for a Bayelsa man from Nembe to be looking up to Abuja, to the federal government, when what he is looking for can be gotten or be done by his local government officials. There will be little pressure on the federal government if power is devolved to the states and the local government. This is the way to go. It is good and necessary for the government to take a second look at what this global scholar and intellectual icon has said: decentralize, reconfigure, and not necessarily restructure. Those who have ears to hear, let them hear.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for that. Like you said, those who have ears to hear, they should hear. Now we're talking about Oronshai's report that has been in the news for some days now, and it says here that Oronshai report has become obsolete, requires review. House Asani advised Tinubu. The House representative said the Stephen Oronshai report on civil service reform had become outdated and needed to be updated before implementation. Senator Shehu Sani spoke in a similar vein, but Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry urged the federal government to provide a clear action plan for the implementation of the Oronshai report. Mrs. Salami, sir.
Well, this Steve Oronshai report has been dominating the news in the last few days since the Federal Executive Council adopted it and said that it will be implemented within 12 weeks. It was the subject of discussion at the editorial session yesterday at Citizen FM. It was widely debated. We look at the possibility, the impossibility, and the challenges involved in the wholesale and holistic implementation of that report. Let's be clear about this. The only thing that is permanent in life is change. The report was submitted in 2012, 11 clear years. Are you telling me that things are still the same the way they were 11 years ago? Are we saying that what obtained in 2012 is what is obtaining today? We need not be told, because we hold this as self-evident truth that there is the need for a review, robust and holistic review of the Steve Oronshai report before we think of the implementation. There's no doubt about it. There's a need to cut the size of government and reduce cost in such a way that you free resources so that you'll be able to provide some things like social infrastructure. But even at that, it has to be well thought out. There is the need for hard-headed thinking, taking into consideration the peculiarities of today. For example, are we saying that we are going to merge JAMB with NECO or with what again? JAMB, that all Nigerians are saying that this is an agency that has made us proud, that so government can work, where Professor Ishak Oloyede, the registrar, is doing wonders. We are not talking about the resources and the money and the revenue is making for the government. That is not the issue, even though it's important. But what we are saying is this: he has taken good care of that agency to the extent that the agency is serving Nigerians, and Nigerians are proud of that agency as one of our national assets. That is just one. The governor of Borno State, His Excellency Professor Zulum, was reported to be begging President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to please spare the Nigerian Army bill